Hello everyone. Thank you for joining us today for the first episode of Kursaha Podcast. Today we are going to talk about AI in marketing automation. And for that we have with us the founder and CEO of Kursaha, Mr. Nishant Pathak.
Thank you, Ayush, for having me. I'm excited about today's call and today's podcast. Let's get it started.
Right. So let's dive right into the topic. Firstly, I would like to know about what are the key benefits that one might observe when using AI in marketing automation.
Sure. Very great question to start. AI has been there in the industry from 1950. It has been evolved with such extreme rate. Like today, we are hearing about generative AI. Even like this have been possible because our processors and computers are getting faster and faster, right? So one of the best AI use case is in personalization. Like that helps you connect your users and customers. You can personalize your text, audio, video based on your specific customer. So that boosts your ROI itself. Second thing where you can use AI in like kind of predictive analysis. Like today we have massive amount of data getting generated in every company from various touch points of user. For example, when you browse a Flipkart or Amazon app, you search for some product, you add to cart, you do checkout. A lot amount of data are being generated, and to analyze them, like analyzing those data manually is not possible. So to analyze them, you can use AI at a great extent, which can even like these days, which can give you even real time results based on the analytics.
Right. So I see that the benefits of AI are quite multifold. And
Yep.
now I would like to know that if a firm chooses to not use AI, to not implement the benefits that you just spoke about, what are the key areas that the firm would be missing out on?
Yeah, so in recent Gartner survey, like around 91% of industries in marketing automation have already either implemented AI or they are on the way to implement. So saying no to UI will like kind of throw you out of the competition, right? You cannot stand between the companies who are using AI to a great extent. You cannot scale, right? So you cannot like have data, but without AI you cannot automate analytics and prediction on top of that. You have to do that manually, which is going to increase your cost. So at the end, like there's no way you cannot say no to AI now.
Right, makes sense. So it's quite important to integrate it at this point.
Yep.
And okay, now that we know a few benefits and what we'll be missing out on, can you throw light upon what are the various use cases of AI in marketing automation specifically?
There are like numerous one, like the starting with the marketing data analytics, dynamic customer segmentation, where you figure out segment of customer based on their behavioral and preferences data, right? Recommendation, so you might seeing recommendation of product when you visit websites like Amazon, Flipkart. Those are like those results are generated by AI. Chat automation, virtual assistant, these days these also like kind of help user a lot. I remember the days when I used to reach out to customer support of any company in their chat. So they used to give me listed option, choose either 1, 2, 3, 4. But today the interaction has become so seamless, you will not recognize whether you are talking to a human or a bot, right? So other is one of the great, which is getting like kind of booming these days, is generative AI, right? You are generating audios, videos, which are like close to real world. It's hard to distinguish whether they are machine generated or the real one. Other use cases in campaign automation, you can find out like what kind of a campaign will give you better results across which channel of communication. So use case is vast, like depends on the problem statement, like what kind of business is want to solve the problem. You have to choose the algorithms wisely.
Alright. So the use of AI is quite pervasive and is present at every action that a company takes.
Exactly.
All right. So moving on, I would now like to inquire, like, if normally also if we like to set a goal before starting out on a particular process, for AI in specific, how much important is it to have a goal in place before we set up, like we choose to integrate AI into our, processes?
This is very important, right? Like the use case which we see and like we encounter in day to day at Kursaha as well. There is a no silver bullet. So single AI model doesn't fit needs of every enterprise. So how to figure out like which model is working or and which is not, right? The idea is to do a goal setting and measure the result, measure the outcome, right? Like you run some campaign, see based on the AI use case which you have used in that, see if that is working for you. So we have to maybe create metrics which are tied back to your ROI, like try to see if, for example, conversion rates are increasing, see if you are able to generate better revenue, right? Your cost per lead or cost per click is getting like optimized, right? So you have to be analyze that, and once it is optimized and it is an exercise, you have to keep analyzing and keep improving the models over and over. The more the data you pump to your models, the better will be result. You have to fine tune the parameters as well.
Right, makes sense. So it is very vital to have it in place. Now let's briefly talk about if a firm or startup wants to integrate AI into their processes. Like we know it is very good and it is very vital to stay in the competition to have AI. How does one business go about implementing it into their processes? What is the basic overview or guideline which one can follow to integrate AI into their existing processes?
So it is pretty standard framework. The journey start with data collection, right? So various touch points like mobile phone, website visits, you can collect data of your customers. Then there is a step known as data pre-processing where you clear and format data, you encode variables, remove duplicates, handle null values, right? After that it comes like feature extraction, find out the relevant feature from data for accurate prediction, see like what are the keys which you need for your models, right? So that comes. After that you will select your model based on the problem statement, what kind of algorithm you want to implement. After that even like after that, like you have the data which you get from a customer, try to always split into two bucket, maybe use 80-20 rule. One is like your training data set and another is like validation, which is very important. So and then train your model and with the training data set and see if they are giving accurate or close to accurate result with some extent using your validation data set. Okay, after that try to take that model in your production, try to do continuous learning of the data, evaluate the result on the real production world. So these are the standard steps, like while building the pipeline you can do for your marketing use case.
All right, I guess that was quite to the mark, and all the listeners can easily implement this process into their existing activities. So initially you talked about that AI has been around for a lot of time, and recently there have been many developments in AI also, like generative AI and so on. So I would like to know more about what are some major algorithms that are being used in AI which can be selected and used for specific purposes. So what are broadly, we know that Gen AI or something of the sort, but let's get a bit more specific and talk about what are the key algorithms that we can make use of.
Right, I think that is where the core AI expertise come into picture. So let's start maybe from like predictive analysis, where you want to predict the future based on your data, right? So very like basic algorithms come in my mind is regression models, where for example let's take example of linear regression, where you can tell based on the current and past month sales number, you can predict what will be your next month sales number.
Okay.
There are other model, for example classification models which you can use to segment your customer. You want to classify them on like predefined categories. Okay, so these are very helpful when you analyze large amount of data. Okay, while running campaign, you can predict customers' behavior. You can use like decision tree, and if you want to go in much depth, you can use random forest algorithms. These are being very helpful, but these are like, for example, random forest. This require it is little bit complex to implement for if you are not experienced in AI. But the output it gives is very good and accurate. Moving to next, like for example, think about when you want to segment customer without knowing the groups, right? You can use like k-means clustering that will help you find out what are the clusters and groups of your customers. Recommendation engine, like where every day we see examples in our shopping apps. There are various algorithms such as like collaborative filtering, content-based filtering. These are used there. We do have implemented this in-house in our campaign GPT, which will if I'd love to talk about that as well.
Okay.
Other use cases include like in chat automation, you have a lot of customer data, right? So you can use like sentiment analysis based of customer data, right? Like so you can figure out like how happy is your customer while talking to your customer support.
All right. So the qualitative part of the data.
Yeah.
All right. So you just briefly mentioned about something called campaign GPT. So can you throw a bit more light on it? What is it, and do you apply it at Kursaha? And just can you please elaborate a bit more about it?
Sure. So in early days, what we have seen, like people or clients are using static segmentation for their customer. What static segmentation is? Where you define, okay, I want users who are living in particular area, particular age group, particular gender in my campaigns, right? So even like what we saw, like the conversion rate are not that great, right? So how we try to improve this? Like we started streaming data. I'm taking an example from retail. So we started taking data from their system, like analyzing data which are present in their system of view product, add to cart, and checkout. And based on that, we started giving scores to that, and we build a system, a model which predict customer for a particular product. So think about use case, how this is used. Like if you have suppose you have a television, you are a sales team of Flipkart, you got like maybe 50,000 televisions. Now you want to run a campaign to people who are interested in television and like give them some offer, like or invite them to like kind of buy your product, right? So with this, our system will give you result of okay, so these are like 5,000 or 50,000 customers whom you can reach out for a campaign for this television. They might have either browsed television in last maybe 3 months, or user who are similar to them might have recently purchased television, right? So based on all those analysis, our campaign GPT create a segment of customer automatically for you.
Okay, so it's more of a dynamic segmentation instead of a static segmentation.
Exactly.
That sounds pretty interesting. So now that we have discussed the good parts of AI and how to implement it, and also a few of the key algorithms, can we discuss what are the pitfalls of AI? Like, where does it go wrong? What can be the downside of using AI?
Yeah, things and innovations always have both the side. Like even when mobile phones came in, it has a lot of upsides, and but there was downside as well, right? Phone addiction, etc., which were like not considered good. Similarly in AI also, one of the recent issues where we have seen a lot of people fall for victim is personalized phishing. So very basic example, suppose a CEO of a company has a meeting on a very hot topic, and he went out of the meeting, and then immediately he received a mail from a colleague who was part in the meeting and asking for some information or some budget approval, right? He will not think about whether it might be a phishing. He will immediately take action and approve that, right? And if that is a phishing, this can be very dangerous, right? So this kind of event has been increased recently. So this is one of the drawback. Other, like now when we talk about data and giving data access to enterprises, like over time we have seen like the data breach has increased multiple folds in recent decades, right? So not the kind of a downfall of AI, but because there are data, you have a lot of data in your company and it gets stolen, right? Specific to AI, other threat which I can think of is fake social media account and impersonation, right? So recently, like even my LinkedIn, I got a request from name of my very close friend and asking for money. And when I went and see, the account was looking like legitimate, but it was a fake account. Like 50 to 70 of my colleagues and like friends also got like request from the same account for money, right? And that was a fake account. When I asked the person whether you asked for money on my phone number, he said no, that profile is not mine, right? So these things happening now in much faster rate. So people has to be careful,
right? Because now like anyone can generate images and text which are personalized. Makes sense. So like to safeguard against such threats, and not just specifically the threats of AI, but when we are talking about data, we need to take some measures to secure our data in terms of cyber security and such. So what are some measures that you would suggest that firms should undertake to protect their data?
Yeah, so the best way to do that is no access is the best access. So try to not have access to your production data. Let only your application talk to it. But even if you cannot move forward, you have to give access. Try to ensure the access is very minimal. Use IP whitelisting. Whitelist the IP from where the request is going to come to access the data. Make sure your data is not like written or stored anywhere else. So like very adhere to like zero data copy policy. Maybe if possible, try for on-premise deployment. Instead of sending your data outside of your servers, try to bring solutions to your enterprise, your warehouse, like where your softwares are deployed. Try to install solution or products there instead of sending your data out, or use solutions which can, instead of streaming your data out, use solution which can integrate with your system and do apply their business logic there.
Right. So mainly to limit our access to only people who want it, and to make sure that we are not sending the data out of the company servers.
Exactly.
All right. So I guess that concludes our discussion of AI in marketing automation for today. I would like to thank you for joining us, Nishant.
Thank you, Ayush, for having me.
Right. Thank you everyone for listening to it. Stay tuned for more updates of Kursaha Podcast. Thank you again for joining.
Thank you.